Welcome and hope you're doing well. Let's go into the 5 things we learned about Maya Angelou's multicultural life, which I know will inspire or even motivate you in your own life journey. She has been a poet, actor, singer, dancer, playwright, and recognized as a monumental literary voice of the 21st century. Maya Angelou was a dedicated activist who fought for civil rights in America. It's fair to say that she helped to define modern America with the struggles around equality we all face today. Here at Mr. Multicultural, we judge a person by their character, not by their race, color, or religion. If you agree and new, why don't you join our multicultural family by subscribing to this channel, as our own understanding of being multicultural has been reinforced by the Cambridge English Dictionary. My name is Bobby S. Said. I am the founder of the MS Show, started in 1997. As shown from the previous introduction, clearly, Dr. Maya Angelou did not have an easy life, as these many articles have shown. Dr. Maya Angelou, who tackled trauma of sexual abuse at the age of 7 and the racist Jim Crow policy, was in the forefront of the civil rights movement in the 1960s, who worked alongside both Dr. Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. Let's hear from Dr. Maya Angelou from our Emma Show, one of our greatest Emma winners, who showed us all how great she really is.
When it looked like the sun wasn't gonna shine anymore, God put a rainbow in the clouds. My goodness, Emma is a rainbow in the clouds. The statement, of course, was made in Genesis. We are told that rain persisted so unrelentingly that people thought it would never cease. And God, to put the people at ease, put a rainbow in the sky. But in the 19th century, an African-American lyricist, a poet, probably a woman, I'm not sure about that, said God put the rainbow in the clouds themselves. We are always aware that suns and moons and novae and comets are in the firmament. However, clouds can so lower and lower that the viewer cannot see the light. But if the light is put into the clouds themselves, and one knows that in the dreariest and meanest of times, there's a possibility of seeing hope. For all the winners here tonight, for those who won but were not accorded winning, for all of those who chose Mr. Syed, who dreamed the dream of Emma, for those who support, for these beauties who stand here to host us, for all of you who've come, each of us has the possibility of being a rainbow in the clouds. So we shine on the path for those who are yet to come, who desperately need the light we give to them. And I thank you very much. You are my rainbow in the clouds. Thank you.
Number 1, resilience. She was born Marguerite Johnson on the 4th of April 1928 in St. Louis, Missouri, and picked up the nickname Maya from her older brother when they were both children, which has stuck with her ever since. After her parents divorced when she was 3, Maya and her brother were sent to live with their grandmother in the racially segregated town of Stamps in Arkansas. Although her grandmother owned a successful general store at the heart of Stamps' black community, Maya's early childhood memories are marked by the experience of racism in the town. This included a former sheriff warning her family that the Ku Klux Klan were looking to harm a member of the black community during a period where racial tensions were at a boiling point. When Maya was 7, she returned to live with her mother in St. Louis, Missouri. That year, Maya was the victim of a terrible episode when she was sexually abused by her mother's boyfriend. He was found guilty, but was only convicted for a single day. 4 days after his release, he was murdered, as she was forced to testify against the man. I decided my voice was so powerful that it could kill people. My voice was a killing machine. Maya believed she had been the reason for this man's murder and didn't speak for 5 years following the event, except to her brother, Bailey. Maya and her brother returned to live with their grandmother once again following this event, where she began to rebuild her confidence. She credits teacher and family friend Mrs. Bertha Flowers with helping her speak again. She introduced Maya to many black female artists who gave her inspiration and a line of role models to look up to as a young woman, as well as authors such as Charles Dickens and William Shakespeare. Number 2. Self-discipline. In 1942, Maya and her brother, now teenagers, moved back to California to live with their mother once again. This time coincided to the period of the Great Migration, where roughly 1.5 million African Americans relocated to the north and west of the US, with racial discrimination in the South being a major factor for this. When Maya was 16, her mother encouraged her to be persistent in going for the job she really wanted at the time, which was to be a streetcar conductor. They initially refused to give her an application form because of her skin color. But after 2 weeks of returning to the office every day, she finally was given the chance, becoming the first black female streetcar conductor in San Francisco. She completed her studies in acting and dance at the California Labor School, age 17, and soon after gave birth to her son, Clyde. She has described the struggles of this period, living as a single mother and slipping down the social ladder into poverty, whilst being in a white-dominated society, and it was hard to get through. At 22, she met and married Maya Angelou, a Greek man, despite interracial marriages being looked down upon at the time and only becoming legal across the US from 1967. Up to that point, she was known as Marguerite Johnson, but she changed her professional name to Maya Angelou, using her nickname and former married surname. Soon after her divorce, she became a professional dancer in clubs around San Francisco, where she sang and danced to clips of music. She also pursued work in theatre, appearing in Porgy and Bess, with a tour across Europe, educating herself about the world. Maya's main inspiration remained, however, writing. In 1952, she was introduced to one of the founders of the Harlem Writers Guild, who strongly encouraged her to move to Harlem to sharpen her skills as a poet and writer, which she did. Number 3. Passion. In a pivotal moment of her life, she met Martin Luther King Jr. in 1960 and heard him speak in person for the first time, which made a major impression on her. She started supporting him in the civil rights movement by organizing charitable events such as the Cabaret for Freedom in New York. While she was a working artist, raising a child by herself, she was also doing the hard work of fundraising, sending out letters and representing the organization. Maya's ability to inspire those around her led her to the position of coordinator of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, an important African-American organization. In the 1960s, Maya lived in Ghana for a time, exploring her heritage and promoting civil rights activism. She held various prominent positions in the country, working at the University of Ghana, as well as writing for the African Review and the Ghanaian Times. Whilst in Accra, Maya met Malcolm X, and both united by the same social mission that led them to work together on several projects. She moved back to the US in 1965 to help build the Organization of African American Unity, with the objective to improve human rights for blacks, and also collaborated with him to form the Cultural Association for Women of African Heritage. However, the plans to bring about social change were halted in February 1965, when Malcolm X was sadly assassinated. In a tragic twist of fate, Maya lost another dear friend when Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated on the day of her 40th birthday in 1968. Devastated by these losses, Maya Angelou permanently moved back to the United States in the late 1960s. Number 4. Confidence. She was friends with prominent African-American intellectuals and writers who she credits to helping her to get out of her depression. Determined to keep making a change through her work, she wrote and produced Black's Blues Black, a series of documentaries about the connection between blues music and African heritage of Black Americans. In 1969, she went on to publish her first autobiography, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, which brought her renowned fame and international recognition. To this day, the book has sold over 1 million copies, being translated into 17 different languages, and was ranked by Time magazine as one of the most influential non-fiction books of modern times. Maya went on to publish 7 autobiographies dating from 1969 to 2013, whilst also writing poetry between her books, and they became popular, as well as discussing social and political issues significant to African Americans. Although best remembered for her book, memoirs and poetry, her work in film and entertainment was also vast. She went on to write Sister Sister for 20th Century Fox and starred in the Emmy Award-winning series Roots, and had her first autobiography, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, adapted into a film. She was the first black woman to write a screenplay for a major film release in Georgia, Georgia in 1972, and even directed her first feature film, Down in the Delta, at the age of 70. Another achievement came in 1981 when she was offered the lifetime Reynolds Professorship of American Studies at Wake Forest University in North Carolina. Despite having no bachelor's degree, she became one of the few full-time African American professors teaching there until 2011. From the moment she started teaching, she considered herself a teacher who writes, not a writer who teaches, once again highlighting her dedication to others. Number 5. Humble. Maya's commitment to public causes continued in her later life. In 1993, she recited on the Post of the Morning at Bill Clinton's inauguration, calling for a new national commitment to unity and social improvement. She became the second poet in history to read a poem at a presidential inauguration, and the first African American and woman to do so. Her recitation resulted in more fame and recognition for her previous works, and the recording of the poem won her a Grammy Award. In 1995, she delivered her second public poem, which commemorated the 50th anniversary of the United Nations. She won 3 Grammy Awards for her spoken word album and was awarded the National Medal of Arts by President Clinton in 2000. In 2002, the Wake Forest School created the Maya Angelou Center for Health Equity to study racial and ethnic disparities in healthcare. In honor of Dr. Maya Angelou, having received numerous literary and humanitarian awards, she was bestowed the 2010 Presidential Medal of Freedom by Barack Obama, the highest civilian honor in the US. She sadly passed away on the 28th of May 2014 at the age of 86. Tributes to her were made from around the world by artists, entertainers, world leaders, and various communities. In summary, Dr. Maya Angelou had overcome the racism imposed upon her in the United States due to the Jim Crow policies that limited the opportunities to blacks that were enjoyed by whites. She was a true pioneer in every sense of the word, who was able to tell it as it is through the most powerful industry in the world, the media. Maya had gone on to direct and produce TV and films that many minorities were unable to do so at the time, hence breaking down those racial barriers. Maya made history with her first autobiography, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, which became the first non-fiction bestseller by an African-American woman. This human story made people around the world stand up to appreciate the life she had experienced. Maya was recognized as a monumental voice of the 21st century. She was a poet, actor, singer, dancer, playwright, but was always a dedicated activist and fighter with the sole mission to promote true equality. Why don't you leave us a comment and share your own thoughts about Dr. Maya Angelou's life journey? Are you this social observer of events? And are there any similarities today you can mention that we can all learn from? Would really appreciate a like or even a subscribe, and if possible, please donate on Patreon, however little the amount, to support this channel's ongoing mission to undertake multicultural campaigns. And remember, it's what's inside that counts, a motto we have used at the Emmers. As Dr. Maya Angelou has proven, you have to use whatever power you have for good, as this life isn't here forever. So until next time, thank you for watching and keep it multicultural.